The Nissan Leaf holds a special place in EV history because it was one of the first electric cars that people could actually buy and use every day. When it first came out, it wasn't just about being electric. It was about showing that an EV could deliver a good driving experience, range, and enough space to make sense as a daily driver. At the time, that combination was rare, and for me, it stood out as one of the most likable cars. I first saw it on TV in the UK, and then it became the very first EV that I drove here in the US. The Leaf made electric mobility approachable, and for a lot of early adopters, it was a car that defined what an EV could be. But the years since have not been kind to that legacy. The EV market has moved forward at a pace that few could have predicted, and Nissan was very late in bringing a true follow up. While rivals launched new models with higher range, faster charging, and advanced driver assistance, the Leaf stayed mostly where it was. That delay means the 2026 Leaf arrives to a completely different landscape, one where catching up will be an uphill task. It is not enough to rely on history or brand recognition because today users expect much more from an EV than they did a decade ago, and the challenge is not the same everywhere. In the US, the shift has been towards larger crossovers and SUVs with long distance capability because users want comfort and range for highway travel. In Europe, the picture looks very different, with cities that reward smaller, more efficient cars that can handle tight streets and shorter trips. The Leaf has to find a way to serve both types of markets, which makes its mission even more complicated. Nissan has finally decided to deliver the long due update. The 2026 Nissan Leaf is an attempt to bring back a nameplate that was once a leader and reintroduce it in a time when expectations are much higher and competition is much tougher. How well it bridges that gap between its early legacy and today's reality will decide whether it can become a true contender again or remain only a reminder of the car that started it all. I am attempting to take a fresh look at the old Leaf and the new one and make my own impressions of this update to share with you. So let's get into it. The 2026 Nissan Leaf shifts from the long running hatchback into a compact crossover format, measuring 173.4 inches in length, 71.3 inches in width without mirrors, and about 82.6 inches with them, standing just over 61 inches tall on a 105.9-inch wheelbase. That makes it a little taller and wider than the outgoing 2025 Leaf hatchback, which was 176.4 inches long, 71.5 inches wide, and 61.4 inches high, with a 106.3-inch wheelbase. So the new car is actually shorter but sits more like a crossover. Battery tech also takes a step forward, moving from the old air cooled 40 kWh and 62 kWh packs to liquid cooled 52 kWh and 75 kWh packs. Charging now tops out at 7.2 kW on AC and up to 150 kW on DC, compared with the older Leaf that maxed at about 6.6 kW AC and 100 kW DC. Even so, 150 kW is certainly on the low side when you consider what competitors are offering today. And Nissan's split charge port setup is going to confuse people since AC is handled by J1772 and DC by NACS. Whatever the company line is, that feels like a goof up. It is just one more thing for owners to keep in mind, and it also means that even with the NACS inlet, you cannot use Tesla's destination chargers, which will frustrate some users. The drive system has the only option of a single motor front wheel drive. The smaller 52 kWh pack is paired with a motor producing about 174 horsepower and 254 pound-feet of torque, while the 75 kWh pack gets a motor with 214 horsepower and 262 pound-feet. The outgoing 2025 Leaf topped out at the same 214 horsepower but slightly less torque at 250 pound-feet. So the new car edges ahead on pulling power even in its base configuration. Cargo space grows significantly with the 2026 model offering about 20 cubic feet behind the second row and up to 55.5 cubic feet with the seats folded. For comparison, the 2025 Leaf hatchback had only 23.6 cubic feet behind the seats and 30 cubic feet total with them folded. So the new crossover body gives much more usable room for families. Inside, the layout is far more modern. The old car used a small 8-inch center display with a modest instrument cluster, while the new one offers dual displays. Base S and S Plus trims have dual 12.3-inch units, while SV Plus and Platinum Plus get 14.3-inch displays that blend together as a wide panel. Google built-in comes on the higher trims along with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, while Nissan Connect is available across the range with app controls and phone as key functions. Safety continues to be a strength, with the Nissan Safety Shield package and Pro Pilot Assist standard or available on most trims, plus emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, lane keep, and options like the 360-degree camera. Premium features like a heat pump, wireless charging pad, Bose audio, panoramic roof, and a head up display show up on the top trims. All these will require real world experiences to confirm their efficacies. Range is another area of clear improvement. The outgoing 2025 Leaf was EPA rated between 149 and 226 miles, depending on battery size. The 2026 Leaf has not published final EPA numbers yet, but with larger and liquid cooled packs paired with more efficient thermal management, expectations are for noticeably higher range figures, which should make it a more practical choice for longer trips. Let's look at the old Leaf. It was a plain vanilla design with most of the dash made of plastic. Manual vents sat on top with the hazard light button in the center. The dash sloped nicely, making room for the instrument cluster. Just below the vents sits the 8-inch center display, flanked by two knobs. The left is volume, while the right works as a multifunction rotary control for the infotainment. To the left are shortcut buttons for the menu, map, audio source, and the day-night auto display modes. On the right are buttons for cycling camera views, skipping tracks forward or back, and a return key to step back through menus. Underneath are the buttons for climate control along with the start button. One USB-A and one USB-C port, a 12-volt outlet, the front passenger airbag status light, and the palm style shifter with buttons for the e-pedal and the eco mode. There's also the little storage. The overhead console features an SOS button, controls for the front and rear, cabin and focus lights, and a sunglass holder. Under the armrest is some additional storage, accompanied by the parking brake button and two handy cup holders. Keep in mind that this is a small city car that's been around for over a decade. The soft touch steering has the horn in the center. On the left side of the steering wheel are the volume control arrow buttons with OK in the center for navigating the instrument cluster, track forward and back buttons, and a return button to step back through menus. On the right side are the lane keeping and cruise controls, cancel, ADAS toggle, and buttons for phone calls and voice commands. To the left of the steering wheel, you will find buttons for opening the charge port marked with a fuel pump icon, activating the heated steering wheel, toggling lane keeping and steering assist features, resetting the trip odometer, and adjusting Pro Pilot assist settings. On the driver's door are the controls for all four windows, the door lock unlock button, and the side mirror adjustment switch. The passenger door shows a comfortable armrest and a small storage pocket, plus a speaker for the audio system, combining convenience and functionality in one panel. On the left stalk, you control the turn signals, rotate the end of headlight modes, including auto, and push or pull for high beams or flash to pass. On the right stalk, you got the front and rear wiper controls, with settings to adjust the wiping speed. Push or pull the stalk to spray and wipe as needed. The rear seat has a seat pocket behind the passenger seat, two cup holders, and two now defunct USB-A ports. When it comes to legroom figures, it's worth noting that every automaker measures them a little differently, with some factoring in seat travel and others using fixed points. So the numbers don't always translate for any direct or accurate comparison. The 2025 Nissan Leaf lists just over 42 inches in the front and about 33 inches in the rear. But those figures alone don't tell the whole story. In practice, the front feels accommodating even for taller drivers, while the rear can feel snug for long-legged passengers. It's best to treat these specs as guidelines and rely on an actual sit-in to judge space. The front has a restyled grille and bumper with a body-colored finish and a small chrome insert. The LED modules in the headlights should be adjusting automatically, and there are fog lights underneath. The Nissan logo sits in the center of the grille and the hood is fairly smooth. It has a J1772 port for AC charging and a CHAdeMO one for fast charging. This design is dated now as the charge ports are now mostly on the sides. The rear of the 2025 Nissan Leaf has a hatch that opens up to the cargo area. The taillights are LED and extend a little onto the sides. There are small reverse and signal lights below, and the bumper is body colored. The rear window has a wiper at the bottom. The roofline slopes gently towards the rear, and the windows have a clean, uninterrupted shape. The door handles are flush with the body, and the side mirrors are mounted on the doors. The wheel arches are subtly flared, and the wheels fill them without looking too large or small. Overall, the sides are uncluttered and functional. The Nissan Leaf story starts in 2011 with the first generation, a bulbous little hatchback with tall headlights and a closed grille, running on a 24 kWh battery, front wheel drive, and a modest 107 horsepower motor for about 73 miles of EPA range. In 2013, it got a minor update with a reshaped bumper, new wheels, and some aero tweaks. The same 24 kWh pack and front wheel drive setup stayed, but efficiency improvements nudged the range up to around 75 to 84 miles. From 2014 through 2017, the car mostly carried over with no major changes beyond new colors and wheel designs. Though in 2016, Nissan added a 30 kilowatt option paired with an 80 kilowatt motor, pushing range between 84 and 107 miles. Then in 2018, the second generation arrived, sharpening the hatch with a V motion grille and slimmer headlights, and upgrading to a 40 kWh battery, still front wheel drive, but now with 147 horsepower and about 150 miles of range. Between 2019 and 2021, the exterior went unchanged, but Nissan offered both the 40 kWh version and a new 62 kWh Leaf Plus with motors up to 160 kilowatts, all front wheel drive, giving you 150 miles in the base model or up to 226 miles in the Plus. The 2022 refresh brought a new bumper, back headlights, and fresh wheels, with the same 40 and 62 kilowatt options and the same motors, with ranges of 149 and 215 miles. That look carried into 2023 and 2024 with no drive system changes, keeping the same packs and delivering 149 miles for the smaller battery and 212 for the larger. Then came the third generation in 2025 with an all-new SUV-like body and taller stance, offering a 52 kWh base model with 174 horsepower and a 75 kWh option with 214 horsepower, both front-wheel drive, with ranges starting at just over 200 miles and topping out between 259 and 303. Finally, in 2026, the design was refined with a cleaner crossover shape, 3D taillights, and flush door handles. Both batteries became liquid cooled. Output measured 174 horsepower and 254 pound-feet on the 52 kWh pack, or 214 horsepower and 261 pound-feet on the 75 kWh pack. Still front-wheel drive, and charging moved to NACS alongside J1772, with range staying between 259 and 303 miles depending on trim. That's my look at the new 2026 Nissan Leaf, its roots, its evolution, how it compares with the 2025 model, and where it now fits in a very different EV world. I'll try and cover its driving dynamics, usability, software, and other features in a future video, so keep an eye out for that. And if you'd like to explore more, especially what Cadillac is doing with its electric lineup, check the link in the description. Thanks for watching.